In a world where geopolitical dynamics are continuously shifting, recent interactions between China and Russia underscore the complexities of international relations in the context of ongoing crises. As tensions escalate in Ukraine and with the specter of a renewed U.S. Russia détente looming, China is strategically positioning itself as a key player on the global stage. This week, Chinese President Xi Jinping reaffirmed Beijing's commitment to its comprehensive strategic partnership with Moscow during a phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. This dialogue notably followed high-profile engagements between U.S. and Russian officials, highlighting the intricate dance of diplomacy that characterizes contemporary geopolitics. With the ongoing conflict in Ukraine entering its fourth year, China finds itself in a precarious position, balancing its long-standing relationship with Russia while also eyeing opportunities to engage with Ukraine. Observers suggest that Beijing is closely monitoring U.S. President Donald Trump's approach to resolving the conflict. The recent discussions between Trump and European leaders, including British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron, indicate a potential shift in Western strategy towards Russia, which could alter the balance of power in the region. On February 20, during a meeting on the sidelines of the G20 ministerial in Johannesburg, South Africa, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi reiterated China's support for Russia while simultaneously acknowledging its strategic partnership with Ukraine. This dual approach suggests that China is not only committed to its alliance with Russia but is also keen to maintain its economic ties with Ukraine, which has been its largest trading partner in recent years. Wang's remarks that China aims to play a constructive role in the political settlement of the crisis reveal a careful maneuvering to position Beijing as a potential peacebroker, albeit without explicitly advocating for Ukraine's sovereignty. As the United States engages in what Secretary of State Marco Rubio characterized as establishing lines of communication with Russia, there are concerns in Beijing regarding the implications of a potential thaw in U.S. Russia relations. Experts warned that if sanctions on Russia are lifted, Moscow's reliance on China could diminish, thereby reducing Beijing's leverage. Dennis Wilder, former top advisor to President George W. Bush, expressed apprehension that a U.S. rapprochement might undermine China's standing and influence in the region. China's diplomatic strategy appears to be multifaceted, with analysts suggesting that it might leverage the situation in Ukraine to enhance its global standing. Evan Medeiros, director of Asian Studies at Georgetown University, posited that while China may offer superficial assistance to U.S. efforts in Ukraine, its underlying motives would likely revolve around its own economic interests, such as securing large contracts for infrastructure rebuilding in Ukraine post-conflict. The backdrop of this complex geopolitical landscape is further intensified by Trump's recent invitation to Xi Jinping to attend his inauguration, a gesture that could signal a new phase in U.S.-China relations. However, with Trump's threats of imposing tariffs on Chinese imports still looming, the invitation raises questions about the future trajectory of bilateral ties. As these diplomatic maneuvers unfold, the uncertainty surrounding the Ukraine situation remains palpable. Analysts caution that while China may seek to portray itself as a mediator, its actions will ultimately be driven by its strategic interests. With Xi and Putin scheduled for further exchanges later this year, the world watches closely to see how these relationships develop and what impact they will have on global stability. Looking ahead, the potential for a recalibrated U.S.-Russia relationship could have far-reaching consequences not only for Ukraine but for the broader geopolitical landscape. As China continues to navigate its role, the international community remains alert to the implications of these developments, anticipating a future where the balance of power may be profoundly influenced by the outcomes of these critical dialogues. In an increasingly complex geopolitical landscape, recent developments concerning U.S. foreign policy and international relations have captured widespread attention. The shifts initiated by former President Donald Trump, particularly regarding China and Russia, have elicited a mix of concern and support from experts and analysts alike. As the world grapples with the implications of these changes, discussions are heating up about the future of international alliances and the balance of power. On February 25, 2025, Trump unveiled a stringent investment memorandum aimed at curbing U.S. financial engagements in China. This announcement has been met with applause from various experts who believe it signals a necessary pivot in how the U.S. engages with its geopolitical rivals. Analysts argue that Trump's move is not merely an economic decision but a strategic effort to mitigate risks associated with intellectual property theft and national security threats posed by China. This memorandum is a wake-up call for American investors, stated one financial analyst. It underscores the urgent need to reassess the viability and safety of investments in China amidst escalating tensions. Simultaneously, Trump's abrupt shift in U.S. policy concerning Ukraine has raised eyebrows regarding American support for Taiwan. Following his recent statements regarding Ukraine, where he suggested a less interventionist approach, questions loom about the implications for Taiwan in the face of rising Chinese assertiveness. A foreign policy expert remarked, "These changes could embolden Beijing to take more aggressive actions regarding Taiwan, especially if they perceive a lack of U.S. commitment to defending its allies." As the U.S. recalibrates its foreign policy, China has expressed anxiety over these developments. In a bid to strengthen ties, China has reaffirmed its friendship with Russia, emphasizing a partnership based on mutual interests and shared concerns about Western hegemony. China views its relationship with Russia as a stabilizing force against U.S. pressure, noted a geopolitical analyst. This burgeoning alliance could have significant ramifications for global political dynamics, potentially leading to a more polarized international environment. The notion that the world order as we know it is fracturing has gained traction among political commentators. A recent article highlighted the chilling sentiment that the established world order may have already ended. This perspective reflects a growing unease regarding the reliability of traditional alliances and the potential for unanticipated conflicts arising from shifting loyalties. As these geopolitical shifts unfold, the future remains uncertain. The interplay between U.S. foreign policy, China's assertiveness, and Russia's ambitions will undoubtedly shape the global landscape in the months and years to come. Observers are keenly watching how Trump's latest moves will influence not only international investment strategies but also the broader geopolitical alliances that have governed world affairs for decades. The stakes are high, and the outcomes will likely have profound implications for global stability and security. As the year of the snake unfolds, China appears to be experiencing a resurgence that has captured the attention of global markets and analysts alike. In stark contrast to the tumultuous start of Donald Trump's presidency, characterized by a flurry of executive orders and a wave of uncertainty in the United States, China is orchestrating a revival bolstered by strategic moves in technology, finance, and its relationship with the new administration in Washington. The momentum began with the unexpected success of DeepSeek, an artificial intelligence startup which sparked significant interest from investors and sent ripples through U.S. stock markets. The release of DeepSeek's reasoning model has become a symbol of China's potential to compete with the U.S. in high-tech sectors despite stringent export controls on advanced American microchips. Noted Rand researcher Gerard de Pippo. This pivotal moment has led many to reconsider their assumptions about China's technological capabilities, particularly in artificial intelligence, data analytics, and quantum computing. President Xi Jinping's recent efforts to mend relations with China's business elite have further signaled a shift in the political landscape. In a highly publicized meeting with prominent business figures including Alibaba co-founder Jack Ma, who had previously been sidelined by Xi's administration, Xi conveyed a willingness to support the private sector as a means to drive economic growth. This strategic pivot comes at a time when the Chinese economy is grappling with slow growth and a host of structural challenges, including significant debt issues and demographic shifts. Despite Xi's overtures, experts remain cautious. While the narrative of China as an economic powerhouse is compelling, the country still faces considerable headwinds. De Pippo cautioned. The challenges include a sluggish economy that many doubt will meet its 5% growth target this year and the ongoing specter of strict Communist Party control which continues to deter investment. The Hang Seng Tech Index tracking Chinese stocks traded in Hong Kong surged 6.5% recently, reflecting a newfound optimism among global investors. Notably, shares of Alibaba saw a remarkable 15% increase fueled by promising sales growth. This resurgence in China's tech sector marks a significant turnaround, as many investors had previously shunned it due to Xi's strict regulatory clampdowns. Trump's approach to China has also played a crucial role in this evolving landscape. During his campaign, he had threatened severe tariffs. But his recent gestures, ranging from inviting Xi to his inauguration to imposing a relatively modest 10% tariff, have fostered a more conciliatory atmosphere. This shift in tone appears to have alleviated some of the tensions that characterized U.S.-China relations in previous years. Amidst this backdrop of economic optimism, the Chinese government is also taking steps to bolster the private sector's confidence through legislative reforms. A new draft law aims to prohibit authorities from imposing fines on private businesses without legal basis, addressing the rampant issue of profit-driven policing that has plagued many firms. Local authorities have often resorted to selective fines on private companies to boost their revenues, creating a hostile environment for business, remarked Peng Ping, chairman of the Guangdong Society of Reform. While the economic indicators present a mixed picture with a reported GDP growth of 5% for 2024, it is clear that the Chinese leadership is intent on fostering a climate conducive to private enterprise and innovation. The service sector, for instance, has shown promising growth with significant increases in information technology services and leasing sectors. As China navigates this complex terrain, the interplay between its domestic reforms and international relations will be crucial. The recent military assertiveness in the region, including naval drills near Australia and Taiwan, raises questions about the long-term sustainability of this newfound confidence. However, the year of the snake, symbolizing transformation and renewal, might just be the catalyst that propels China forward. In conclusion, as China embarks on this transformative journey, all eyes will be on how it manages its economic challenges while simultaneously navigating the intricate dynamics of its relationship with the United States. The potential for a cooperative yet competitive coexistence may define global economic relations in the years to come. As the world watches, China's next steps will be critical in shaping its future trajectory and that of the global economy. In a world increasingly defined by geopolitical complexities and shifting alliances, China's response to the ongoing Ukraine conflict and its growing ties with Russia have become focal points of international diplomacy. As the 3-year anniversary of Russia's aggressive actions in Ukraine approaches, China's strategic positioning is under close scrutiny, particularly in light of U.S. President Donald Trump's recent proposals. Analysts suggest that Beijing is not only observing Trump's approach but is also calculating its own diplomatic maneuvers to solidify its influence in the region. This week, significant diplomatic engagements are taking place in Washington, where British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron are set to meet with Trump. Their discussions follow a landmark meeting between U.S. and Russian officials in Riyadh that has reignited debates about the future of Ukraine. Notably, Trump has expressed a willingness to engage Russia in talks aimed at resolving the conflict, marking a potential shift in U.S. foreign policy. In a parallel development, Chinese President Xi Jinping held a conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin, who briefed him on the Riyadh discussions. The exchange highlighted the comprehensive strategic partnership between the two nations, with China maintaining its stance of wanting to play a constructive role in the political settlement of the crisis. Interestingly, Chinese officials have consistently refrained from labeling the situation in Ukraine as a war, instead to refer to it as a crisis, a distinction that underscores Beijing's cautious approach. China's engagement with Ukraine has also been noteworthy. During a meeting on the sidelines of the Munich Security Conference, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi reiterated China's commitment to peace but notably sidestepped issues of Ukrainian sovereignty, indicating a delicate balancing act between its ties with Russia and its strategic partnership with Ukraine, which has been significant since 2011. As discussions continue regarding military spending cuts, Putin has publicly backed Trump's proposal to have defense budgets for Russia, the U.S., and potentially China. Putin described the proposal as a good idea, signaling Moscow's readiness to negotiate. Despite its military expenditures having surged since the onset of the Ukraine conflict, this willingness to engage in dialogue could have far-reaching implications for global security and the dynamics of military spending among the major powers. Despite the apparent openness from Russia, experts remain skeptical about the sincerity of China's intentions regarding a resolution in Ukraine. Some analysts believe that China may leverage the situation to enhance its global standing while not genuinely committing to influencing Russia's actions. Evan Medeiros, a former U.S. National Security Council official, suggested that while China might offer superficial assistance, it would ultimately prioritize its own economic interests, particularly in securing contracts for infrastructure projects in a post-conflict Ukraine. The evolving geopolitical landscape is further complicated by the U.S. Russia talks, which some European nations view with concern, fearing exclusion from critical discussions about Ukraine's future. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio clarified that the Riyadh talks were not negotiations but rather an effort to gauge Russia's seriousness about ending the conflict. As military spending worldwide continues to rise, hitting a record $2.43 trillion in 2020, the question remains whether any substantive agreements on defense reductions will materialize from these high-stakes discussions. With both China and Russia closely monitoring U.S. actions, the coming months will be pivotal in determining the trajectory of international relations and the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. In conclusion, as China and Russia fortify their partnership amid shifting U.S. policies, the global community watches closely. The interplay of these relationships, coupled with potential arms reduction discussions, could redefine the security landscape in the coming years. Whether these diplomatic overtures will lead to meaningful resolutions or merely serve as strategic posturing remains to be seen, but one thing is clear: the stakes have never been higher. In an era marked by geopolitical shifts and evolving international relations, the current dynamics between the United States and China are coming under significant scrutiny. Recent developments suggest that both nations are navigating a complex web of economic, technological, and military challenges with potential ramifications for global stability. Notably, the recent successes in China's tech sector and high-profile diplomatic engagements hint at a recalibration of ties that could reshape the contours of U.S.-China relations. China's recent economic resurgence is exemplified by the unexpected success of DeepSeek, an artificial intelligence startup that has captured global attention. This development not only jolted U.S. stock markets but also showcased China's burgeoning capabilities in sectors traditionally dominated by American firms. Gerard DePippo, a RAND researcher, encapsulates the current narrative: China is racing ahead as an economic and technological powerhouse while simultaneously grappling with significant economic challenges. This duality reflects the complex reality facing Beijing, where rapid advancements in technology coexist with a slowing economy burdened by debt and demographic issues. The political landscape in China has also undergone a notable transformation. President Xi Jinping's recent outreach to business leaders, including Alibaba co-founder Jack Ma, marks a strategic pivot aimed at fostering economic growth. This shift has been mirrored in the stock market, where the Hang Seng Tech Index surged, indicating renewed investor confidence in the Chinese tech sector. The revival of interest among global investors can be attributed to Xi's conciliatory gestures, which signal a willingness to engage with the private sector, albeit while maintaining strict party control. Compounding these developments is the changing tone from the United States under President Donald Trump. His administration's softer stance towards China contrasts sharply with the aggressive rhetoric that characterized his campaign. Trump's invitation for Xi to attend his inauguration and a relatively modest approach to tariffs have seemingly eased tensions, allowing for a more congenial atmosphere between the two nations. As the U.S. recalibrates its foreign policy, the implications for China are profound, with potential for both competition and cooperation. Xi's military assertiveness in the region juxtaposed with Trump's diplomatic overtures presents a precarious balance. Recent military maneuvers by China around Taiwan and aggressive naval exercises signal that Beijing feels emboldened amid a perceived shift in U.S. foreign policy. The Chinese ambassador to India has further emphasized the need for youth to act as envoys of correct perceptions, reinforcing the notion that mutual understanding is crucial for future stability. As these nations navigate their complex interdependencies, the potential for conflict remains ever present. Yet there is also the possibility for strategic dialogue and collaboration, particularly in areas such as climate change and economic cooperation. The recent high-level meetings between India and China illustrate that despite historical tensions, diplomatic channels remain open, offering a roadmap for future engagement. Looking ahead, the trajectory of U.S.-China relations will largely depend on how both nations respond to their respective challenges. If the current momentum continues, there may be opportunities for constructive dialogue that can address shared global issues. However, if military posturing and nationalistic rhetoric prevail, the risk of confrontation could escalate with significant consequences for global peace and stability. In conclusion, the unfolding narrative of U.S.-China relations is a testament to the complexities of modern geopolitics. As both nations grapple with internal challenges and external pressures, the coming months will be pivotal in determining whether they can navigate their differences toward a more stable and cooperative future. The world watches closely, aware that the choices made in this intricate dance of diplomacy will shape the global order for years to come.